Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. Sudha just wrote to somebody. Anyhow, the important thing is not to worry. And that person wrote back, easy to say. Yes. The tendency is that we are spending so much time, so much energy worrying about something. Worrying what has happened, it still has happened. Worrying about what can happen, it may not happen. Worrying about whether we are going to be good enough for the situation or not. And it doesn't bring anything creative. It doesn't bring anything helpful. Nothing wrong thinking about the possible situation. And if we see the possibility of an unnecessary danger, to take measure to avoid that. But that's not worry, that's simply common sense. The worry is that hooking in with the attention in certain things that we have in the mind. Not something that is happening right now, but something that has happened or that could happen. And then turn it around and turn it around and turn it around. It eats up our life force. It doesn't bring anything creative into the situation. And yet, so many people spend so much time worrying. The funny thing is that it is even looked at as something positive. It is even looked at as if somehow, if we care, we have to worry. That's part of the conditioning from our bringing up in this society. This kind of mechanisms have been put there, even if they don't make any sense at all. We can be very sensitive, we can be very sensible, acting with truth, with responsibility, with common sense, but it is absolutely not necessary to worry. That is just something that has been planted because everybody does it, and so it's normal. And as I said, it's even looked at as if we have to, if we feel responsible, if we care. It's good to really look at one's mind and see what we are doing. It's good to see how the tendency is there to worry so often about little things, about big things, about anything. Ideas that come in the mind, and already it goes. If this is happening, if that is happening, oh my God, what's going to happen? What can we do when that is happening? And it is really eating up our life force for absolutely nothing. We're missing the present. We are missing that point where we are connecting with life, with the creativity, with the beauty of existence, by being in the mind and turning things around like this. And it's tiring. It's good to have a good look at oneself and see when we are worrying, then not be forced, try to stop it and say, no, 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 don't worry. Then start to worry about worrying. No, when we see these kind of mechanisms, then just redirect the attention. Find one way to bring it to be consciously conscious in the present, and from this perspective see the tendency of the thoughts turning round and round and round the subject. And if we observe like this, if we observe what it is doing to our experience right now, physically, energetically, emotionally, intellectually, and learn to relax, then we can counteract that old habit of worrying about things. If we look out into the world right now, there are millions of things we could worry about. It's crushing if we do so. And we don't bring anything positive into the picture. If we see what's going on, if we see negative stuff, destructive stuff that is going on, but at the same time, bring the awareness to that which is not affected here, now, timelessly now, then actually something beautiful flows into that current and we contribute something very creative, very helpful. The situation can improve when we do so. And the more people that are doing so, the more there is a chance that things can turn to something positive, to something harmonious. If we are not aware and just are getting caught up in that mechanism of worrying and worrying and worrying, then actually we contribute to the negativity. We contribute to that force that is looking for destruction in order to keep the control. So, my friends, let's not worry. It doesn't mean to close the eyes, to go silly through the life and oh, I don't want to see that there are negative things. By all means, have the courage and see negativity, see where there is destruction, but at the same time, learn to become aware and ever stronger rooted in that capacity to connect with that aspect in you that is not affected by it. And then no matter what is happening in the world, no matter what is happening in the personal life, we're not falling into that trap of worrying, of throwing our life force away by turning the thoughts and emotions around the subject and always projecting negative scenarios, something that could happen. Oh, what am I going to do if this is going to happen? What am I going to do if I'm not good enough and people are criticizing me? What am I going to do? And don't. You are a divine being, unaffected, unconcerned, unbound, full of joy and beauty and creativity. Come back home to that. Let it flow into your actions, let it flow into your emotions, let it flow in your thoughts and radiate that creativity. That your life becomes an expression of what you really are. There is no space for worry there. Still, difficult situations will be there. Still, we will see that there is a lot of negative stuff going on. There is a lot of destruction. But at the same time, there is that awareness that there is always that possibility to come back home into that haven of peace and joy and beauty for everybody. Also those who are in places where it's worse, that possibility is still there. And if we do think of them and worry, then we make it more difficult for them. If we do think of them and at the same time are aware that no matter what is happening, still this space is there untouched, unaffected, then we make it easier for those people we are thinking of. Because we are sending something very beautiful, very supportive, very strong to them. So learning not to worry is not only making our own personal life better, more joyous, more creative, more beautiful, it is also a great service for the world. That idea that we have to sit here and worry because so many bad things are happening, that this is ethical is wrong. That's something that has been planted in our psyche. One of the many things that we just have gobbled up without being aware that we are doing so, and after that now we have to make an effort to get rid of all that. Get rid of everything that is handicapping, that is preventing us from being simply natural. If we stop worrying, then we just joyously, playfully go from day to day. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it needs a bit more effort, sometimes it's pleasant, sometimes it's not pleasant at all. But no matter what, that base is there unaffected. Let's make that in our home and live our life from that perspective. Then every situation is enriching. Whatever we are confronting, beautiful or not beautiful, is enriching, and we are learning in a gentle, joyous way. And that's what we are here for. All right, my friends, I stopped now talking about worry. And I'm asking you, is there anyone who would like to come in and say something? You're welcome to do so.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Dial.
I was not present at last satsang, but I see it in recording.
Yeah.
And I was very inspiring beginning of satsang when you was talking about persistence, perseverance.
Yes.
Yes, and it seems to me it's most important things what we need. And can you tell me how you keep doing persistence on and on for many years? For my case, I feel sometimes everything is all right. I can live in this world forever, no problem. No need to need so much persistence.
Yeah.
So can you talk about this?
Well, one aspect is exactly what you mentioned now. Somehow that the idea is there, people live their life as if it would go on forever and ever, thinking, yeah, sometime or other I will take the time to try to go a bit deeper. But now I want to enjoy. What helps us to keep that persistence is to live consciously. Because if we live consciously, and even if we try to just spending our time enjoying, then very quickly we become aware that there's very little enjoyment in that. There is those little moments, those little peaks that are there, and a lot of time in between where it is just struggling and struggling. And if we are aware of that, we become aware, hey, this is not the natural way of existing. And if that awareness is growing, then the persistence comes by itself, because that longing is there in everyone to come back to a natural state, that we live how we are meant to be, naturally, joyous, and not desperately trying to find joy somehow or other. So the key component is that we really live consciously and observe. In my own life, I have started with yoga when I was quite young, when I was 14, and had a good direction from the beginning, learning about Ramana Maharshi and Sri Ramakrishna, being very inspired by that, having all kinds of fantasies as a young fellow. But then I went through 6 years of quite a stormy time, often thinking, oh, I don't want to have anything to do with the world. But being a young man with a healthy body and all its urges, but sometimes periodically suppressing everything, and then, but not being capable of really dealing with it, because I wasn't observing. I was just with willpower forcing things around, and then at a certain point I had enough and threw it away, and would go through a period where I do the opposite and indulge and try to try to enjoy myself, getting fed up with that again, coming back to no, I don't want to have anything to do with that. Eventually I found this is futile. So I started to sincerely try to be more conscious what's going on, not to suppress everything that came as a desire, but fulfilling desires, but at the same time keep up a daily practice, keep up something that helps me to be conscious, trying to be more conscious in my not official practice time. And if you start to live like this, then those things that always want to pull you away from being consciously in the present lose more and more their glamour. You stop believing that you are going to be very happy if you run after that. And then the natural longing will manifest more and more. I want that which makes me fulfilled and keeps me fulfilled, from where that experience can unfold. So it was very helpful then to still continue that life, but being more conscious, being more aware, observing more, going for enjoyments, going for sense gratifications, going, fulfilling desires, but at the same time also watch what's really going on and become aware, becoming more and more aware. It doesn't bring much. It doesn't, it brings a lot of troubles and a few moments of, of joy. And the more you see that, the more it comes naturally that you want to find something permanent. And the more you want to find something permanent, the more then you are ready to be persistent. Then still, I brought a lot of my me self-importance into it and wanted to have it quickly. And being very upset that it didn't happen quickly as I wanted, but still that urge was strong enough to continue. And then I got also the support of my teacher who kept on encouraging me, go on, go on. It's worth the trouble. If we develop that clarity, then it becomes more and more naturally to just keep going. Because you know, what else is worth to pursue really, but to really connect with truth. But that doesn't mean one has to be an ascetic sitting in a cave. We can live our life, but still have that intent there. And then we live our life very consciously, and then the tendency is that we persevere really by bringing back the attention again and again and more sincerely, because we become more aware everything else is always somehow or other ending in disaster. If that clarity is there, then the perseverance comes.
Yes, Werner, very clearly. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hariom.
Hario, Hario. Is there anybody else who would like to come and say something? You're welcome.
Hello.
Hello, Leela.
Hi. I wanted to ask about escapism. Specifically, also, you spoke today about enjoying and because I hear people now saying a little bit of escapism is okay, because it seems like people are, yeah, upset, worried, sad, and painful, and all kind of unpleasant emotions and yeah, emotions. And then they do something. Let's say an example of somebody I know, she likes to bake, so she bakes beautiful small cakes, and she puts a photo on Facebook, and she writes a little bit of escapism is okay. So first of all, I'm not sure in this connection why is it escapism to do something we like to do, even in this situation which we're going through now. Yeah. And why is it called escapism anyway?
Yes, that's a good question. It's only becoming an escape when you desperately try to push things away, of which you know the moment I stop this barrier, it comes crashing back. But there is absolutely nothing wrong doing things that you like to do, as long as it's not destructive for us or others. But we can go and desperately try to squeeze out some happiness doing this or doing that, or we can go about it very consciously, and then it's not an escape. You can enjoy what you're doing, and actually you're getting much more out of it if you do those things consciously, if you do those things not in a way that you try to run away.
Yeah.
It's nothing wrong when there is a lot that is not nice going on, that we are not dwelling on that day and night, that we bring our attention to something more beautiful, more harmonious, but not out of fear, not out of desperately trying to create a wall around us, but simply because we also see it's no use, it's not necessary to just, it's exactly what I have been talking about. It's not necessary to worry about it. And if we don't worry, then we can also playfully do a lot of things that we like to do, but keep that awareness. And then it's not an escape. It becomes an escape if we desperately try to push things away in our personal life or in the society and hope to escape by doing something else. But deep down, knowing very well, as soon as I finish, boom, it comes crushing back, and I will start my worrying process again. If we stop worrying, then we need not escape. Then we can accept, okay, situation is not nice. It is as it is. And then you don't need to escape, but that doesn't mean you have to dwell on unpleasant things the whole day long.
Yeah. So there's also an element of so-called guilt feelings, I would guess, maybe feeling guilty because there are still people in Gaza kidnapped and soldiers there and people who can't go back to their home to live in their homes, etc. So why would I enjoy myself and bake some cakes? It's yeah, like I feel sometimes a little bit of guilt feelings, but very, very little. Why can I enjoy? Why can I or why should I? Both, like while so many people are under such pain and suffering and yeah.
Why should you be allowed to enjoy? Because
Yeah,
that is your natural state, to be
yeah,
joyous. And it's not anything ethical to prevent you from being joyous. You're not helping yourself, you're not helping
yeah,
anybody else. But that doesn't mean try to create a wall that I don't see that it is there, and then I desperately try to enjoy. It doesn't work. It works for little moments, but it doesn't work. If you really want to be joyous and enjoy your life from moment to moment, then you have to let go of the walls. Accept that the picture is as it is, but your natural state is still. joyous. And you have a right, it's your birthright to dive into that, to experience that joy, to express that joy in your life, whether you're cooking something or baking something or doing nothing, simply being. So
Yeah.
that guilt you are talking about, it goes in the same mechanism, the same conditioning I have been talking about in the beginning. It looks like
Yeah.
it's something ethical, something that we should do, to sit here and worry. Like, how could you not worry if there are such terrible things happening? One person, once I asked, how are you? Are you happy? And he said, no, as long as so many things are happening, I cannot possibly be happy. But it's simply an excuse not to take the trouble to really look at oneself and see how I'm creating unhappiness for myself. And all I'm doing, if I'm doing so, is adding more unhappiness in the world, radiating
Right.
more negativity. But
Yeah.
our natural state is joyous. And it's not only not wrong, it's totally the right thing to do, to connect with that joyousness. And if you connect with that joyousness, you are enjoying your life from moment to moment. But then you radiate that joy also out to those people who are suffering. And actually, you are helping them in a subtle way, even if they are not aware of it.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of something. First time I think that way, that being an adult, there is something, there is more growth. It's not, I'm not only now I'm an adult, but listening to you, I feel I'm growing more, I'm growing more than an adult, and somehow.
That goes on.
It,
It's not that we can think, okay, I have to work and then I'm an adult or whatever, and then
yeah,
the learning process is over. The learning process will go on.
yeah.
Right.
Okay,
But
thank you, Werner. Yeah,
but the learning process needs not be a painful business, but can become joyous.
yeah, followed by pain sometimes. For me anyway, I go through pain and then I feel I'm somehow growing. So yeah, but I guess it varies between people.
Physical pain we cannot avoid. Sometimes the body hurts. We can
Yeah,
reduce it if possible, but sometimes the body hurts.
yeah,
Emotional pain will come. It depends what we mean with pain. Painful feelings will come, but we need not suffer. If we are not
yeah,
hooking into them, if we are not struggling with them, if we are not resisting, but accept them, then also these negative, so-called negative emotions that come, they don't make us suffer. Suffering is not a must. It's something that we are creating. We have been taught to suffer. We have been taught how to do so, how to, and then after that, we keep on doing it to ourselves. And it doesn't help us, it doesn't help anyone, and it's not a duty to do so.
yeah,
Right,
yeah. I understand. I understand.
right.
Okay, Werner. Thank you. Carry on.
Hari
Yeah.
Om, Hari Om. Would anybody else like to say something? I've been talking about this before, but this is a point It's good to remember again and again and again, because the conditioning is so strong that there is a false reference to suffering. Just to make it clear again, when I talk about suffering, then I don't mean confronting unpleasant circumstances. When I talk about suffering, then I talk about that mental anguish that we are creating in ourselves. And there is absolutely nothing ethical, nothing great about it. It's something that we have learned to do to ourselves and have good ideas about it. But it's a total handicap from learning to be in our natural state. Suffering is waking people up. If at a certain point they have enough of suffering, and then they look for ways how to get out of it. But we don't have to keep up that waking call, because once we know this is not the way where we are finding fulfillment, then we can consciously put the attention in the right direction, and suffering is not more necessary. It's simply that we keep on doing it to ourselves out of old habit. We have our ideas how things should be. Things are not according to our ideas, and we totally resist to the fact that momentary right now things are manifesting not according to our liking, and then that resistance, if we insist, if we hold on to, that is suffering, that creates suffering. And we need not do so. There is no need to do so. There is no duty to do so. There is no help for anyone if we are doing that to ourselves. You are a joyous divine being, and it's your birthright to bring the attention back home to that and be rooted in that. And then, of course, if we see people in pain, if we see people who suffer, then we don't play a joyous being and dancing in front of them. We can very well be with them. We can very well cry with them. But at the same time, deep down, be aware that joyous beingness is absolutely not affected by that. Whatever is happening, it doesn't create suffering. I am doing that to myself. The way I'm dealing with the circumstances that I'm confronting, that make be suffering, that may create suffering, that may radiate suffering also for others. And I can learn not to do that anymore. It is not natural. And we have the right to be natural, to be what we are, consciously, not simply theoretically, but consciously connect with that simple sense of being alive, conscious, here, now. Learn to dive into that and learn to be rooted in that. And the more we are doing that, the more that natural inner joyousness simply starts to bubble up and express itself. Again, I'm asking, is anyone who would like to come in? You're welcome.
Hello.
Hello, Andreas.
Um, I al- when you talked about that life is like not so perfect or suffering or incomplete, I thought, well, I should keep that much more in mind because a lot of times I just try to make my life more comfortable and nice, and forget about that it's not working. And I always slip back into that. I'm not really convinced that I cannot do it, that I'm going to die. I'm always trying to find like a better bicycle, a better place to live, and yeah, it's always like that. Like, is the only solution to constantly remind myself that this is not going to work, and I should just try to be more present? Or do you have any other advice?
This is certainly very helpful to do so. At the same time, there is nothing wrong with improving your external circumstances if you can. What is wrong is that we are making our well-being dependent on that. That we think, I need it in order to be happy. If with a reasonable amount of effort in a playful way, you can improve your circumstances, that they are nicer, there is nothing wrong with that. But if I run and have to, because I think I cannot possibly be happy without doing this, without doing that, without improving this, without improving that, then of course we are driven, and there we are in a spiral that always brings more trouble instead of more happiness. So if you feel restless about it, then find a bit the middle way, that okay, you improve what goes relatively easy. And if you decide to make an effort to really change something, then be aware how you are doing so, that you do it in a playful way and not all obsessed and restless and full of tension that is driving you on until one day maybe it's manifesting, and then you can let go. Learn to be relaxed here now. And then you are also aware, if you're relaxed here and now, that you don't need so many things, that they are not really necessary to make you happy. But then if you feel it makes sense to improve certain things, then you can still improve them without getting obsessive about it.
Sometimes this is difficult.
It's the habit that makes it difficult. It's the habit that I have to do so, and think, if I'm not doing so, then sort of I'm wasting my time, I'm wasting my life, I'm wasting my opportunities. And then if that comes, then it's good to have a good look again and again at oneself and see, hey, I'm telling stories to myself. Deep down, after all, I know perfectly well that no matter how much I'm struggling to improve the situation, it is not that whichever will make you fulfilled.
Yeah, I sometimes completely forget about that. Like, for example, right now, I'm trying to buy a new folding e-bike. I have one already, but I'm not completely satisfied with it, and it's getting a big deal to find a new one. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. Right now, I think I should ease up on it a little bit, and just, I mean, the old one isn't so bad. You get
Right.
completely in it.
You can a bit ease up on it, at the same time keep your eyes open, and when you observe, be alert. And when you observe that you're getting into that current, that getting restless about it, there, instead of thinking of the possible new bike, then bring your attention to that mechanism in yourself right now that makes you restless, and observe that and start to relax, and then it's losing its power.
Okay.
We just have to remind ourselves. That's the thing. That much effort we have to do.
Yeah, it's slowly getting a little bit better, that I'm remembering more to just like try to be present.
Yes. And remember to observe. Remember to observe the mechanisms. Remember how much what they are doing, how much energy you may invest in things, that when you have a bit a good, closer, clearer look, you immediately see it's not worth the trouble.
Yeah, that might be a good consideration.
Yes. Shall we leave it at that for the time
Yes.
being?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Hurry up. Hurry up. Just when Andreas came in, I saw Victoria had the camera open. Did you want to come in, Victoria? Oh, yes. There
Yes,
you
yes, thanks. I do. Okay. Well, I wanted to share with you kind of a crazy theory I have and see
are.
what you think of it.
You're
Because
welcome.
there's this narrative about how there's way too many human beings on the planet and it's such a problem. But I have a different outlook, and I wonder if what you think. So there's more humans than there's ever been. You know, how many? 8 billion or whatever. But I'm thinking, well, maybe that's a good thing, because there's always a percentage of humans that are um, very spiritually advanced, very spiritually awake and enlightened. And now that there's 8 billion, there must be more, more of them. And is that kind of helping the shift to a higher dimension? The fact that, I mean, maybe it's good that there's so many humans. Maybe that's part of the plan. I don't know. I'd just like to hear what you think about it.
Yeah, I'm not just saying now whether it's good or bad, but your calculation, mathematical calculation about the percentage doesn't quite work out, because then if you say because there are more people and a certain percentage is very helpful, then you can also say there are more people who pull in the other direction.
Okay.
No, it's not a matter whether there are many or not many people. There are certainly a lot of people, and maybe with a little less it would be easier. But now they're making too much of a big fuss about that point. There is easily, if there was harmony, there is easily enough space and enough food for everybody. The trouble is that a few people want to have the whole thing, and so it's very troublesome for everybody else. It's not like you cannot calculate like this. So there should be even more people, then there would be more people who can contribute to change, because then there are also more people who are maybe helping the other side.
Oh, okay. True. True.
But everybody who has that awareness can contribute, and then it's not for them, it's not so important whether there are many or few people. Wherever they are, whatever the circumstances, how many people there are or not, everyone can contribute. And if that awareness is there, that makes a difference. That is, it's good to remember that we, everyone, can contribute. It's like I have borrowed that image from a young Swiss mystic. It's like a blanket, a dark blanket around the world, and everyone can start to make holes in it by connecting with the light. And the more people that are making holes, the more we are contributing that the whole thing can collapse. But but it doesn't have to do with how many people there are.
Well, I love that image. That's a great. Who was that mystic? Do you remember who that mystic was?
Yes, that's a young woman in Switzerland called Christina.
Huh? Wow, I like that.
Yeah.
That's a yeah.
Yeah. She's very. She's somehow special from childhood. She just was sort of half in this world and half in other dimensions, and so from there she has a lot of insights, and just in her own very simple way is talking about that.
Wow.
She's not. There are a lot of people following her, but at the same time, she's not like a powerful leader that will have disciples and following her, but she's like a beautiful source of a viewpoint that is not so common. There are a lot of people talking now. There is this new agey type of movement, which is certainly doing something good. There are a lot of channelers who are telling all kinds of things, and you have to take everything with a grain of salt that they are talking. But I feel what comes out of her is so sweet and natural.
Oh, I'm going to look her up. I hope she's translated into English, but I
Yes,
bet she is.
she's having videos and talking in Swiss German, no, in German, not in Swiss German, in German, but there are videos with English translation there, written English translation.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Her talking is not like flowing very nicely. It comes out very slowly, and sometimes you have the feeling she's half rather somewhere else, and then it comes out. So you have to, a bit to be patient to listen to her.
Like she's in touch with higher realms and she's kind of downloading it. Is that kind of
That
what?
you can say so. Yes, right. And somebody, I just saw the question, the name. She's become known as Christina von Dreyen. Yeah, yeah. And I'm borrowing that image of the blanket that is around the world that I've heard from her, and it's exactly what I feel. It's just very beautifully expressed. Everyone who is connecting with the light is contributing. So it's a beautiful image, is drilling holes in that dark blanket that is there. And the more holes there are, the more, the quicker one contributes, and the quicker it goes that the whole dark structure is collapsing.
Oh, I really like that image. That's very powerful, very comforting, and
Yeah.
inspiring and encouraging, yeah. Thanks. Okay,
So
well, I'll stop.
don't worry about many people or not many people. Now those people who are talking so much about there are too many people and want to reduce humanity, it's totally for selfish reasons. It has nothing to do that they want to do that for the good of humanity. It's just whatever they are doing, they are trying to present their case that it sounds very noble and for a good purpose, and behind it, it's always selfish rubbish.
Yeah. I have. I am suspect of that narrative. But I guess I'll stop wishing that there were even more people. No need to do that.
No need for more people. The
No.
people who are there are very well enough to change things. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Werner, thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'll see what message that was. Okay. If somebody else can write that name, is fine. Otherwise, I will at the end of the satsang write that name. Yeah. Anita has just written it. Is there anybody else who would like to come in and say something? You're welcome. Hello, Vikas.
Hello, Werner. How are you?
Quite okay, by God's
Very
grace.
So I wanted to share some experiences which I had in Tiruvannamalai this time. And so I did my Girivalam at 4:45 in the morning. And just when I started, the first lingam which we start off is, I think, Vayu Lingam.
Mhm.
So once we start from Ravana Ashram, the first lingam, I think it is Vayu Lingam, or it must be something else. But when I entered that temple, there was a lot of noise of peacocks,
Yeah,
lot of peacock noise suddenly. So I
Yeah.
felt like it was a very mystical thing.
yeah,
And I also saw a person who was going on the other direction, like
Hmm.
anti-clockwise.
yeah,
And this person he was not Indian, he was a European, and he was wearing a very small, like, just he had covered his just private parts, and small dhoti kind of thing, white dhoti. And he had a beater in his hand and a straight tika,
yeah,
tilak, and he was going in opposite direction,
yeah.
as if he was a great mystic, or I don't know. I had never seen him before. He was a different kind of guy.
Mhm.
So this happened. And also every time I go to this ashram, my Atithi ashram, I always see that Topi Amma. Topi Amma is always there. She gives me darshan. So I have never given her anything, but my friend told me that you should give her something next time you see.
Yeah.
So, and fourth thing, what I wanted to say is that it's separate from what I was talking about. It's like a friend of mine. He has become very rich. Suddenly, he has become very rich. He has bought a Ferrari. He has bought a dealership of Porsche. And I always feel like, oh, he's having the best life. And I should have also done that kind of job. I should leave my job and do something, go abroad, earn some more money, and buy some great cars. But that's what you were talking about. Like, I always feel that, okay, peace is always there. Like, when I'm chanting mantras, there is a lot of peace.
Mm.
So if we all are doing the same thing, we all are chanting mantras, then who will earn those things, these things which are there, material things? Who will enjoy them if we all just go inside and be happy? And who will enjoy these material richness and wealth?
Basically, there is nothing wrong if one has the means to have a supercar, if that makes them, if that gives them pleasure. But people who run after that, usually it doesn't make them happy. After all, to buy cars like this, what can you do with a car? You can still roll on the road like everybody else. It's simply to show off. So they are looking for all the feedback they are getting from the people around. The people who get jealous, who get admiring, or who get, and it's never enough. Then okay, you said he has already a Ferrari and a Porsche, but then whatever people accumulating, it will be never enough. As long as that basic intent is there that somehow or other they want to squeeze happiness out of the circumstances. Then if once if there is the possibility to buy a crazy car like this, then for a moment they will feel very happy, but after a very short time it's commonplace and it doesn't feel that longing for fullness. And then the idea of something else comes and the restlessness comes, and you can have as much wealth, as much possessions as you want, as long as one thinks that is going to make you fulfilled or happy, then it's never enough. Then people getting just crazier and crazier and crazier and wanting more crazy things and hope so desperately, then they will get fulfilled by that. And then if eventually they find they have so much and they find out that cannot make them happy, then they want to start to be in control of other people and hope in that way they can get that fulfillment. And however much they are getting, it's never enough because it cannot bring that sense of fulfillment that one is looking for. That is something that you can only find in yourself, in the essence. If it doesn't disturb to look in the right direction, if it doesn't disturb you to be aware of that and connect with the essence, then it's nothing wrong if somebody can buy an expensive car, if he wants to do so. But to be crazy for that, to be running after that, is just making people tense and restless. And for a moment happy when it's new there, and then there must be a second car, bigger car, something more, and then a private jet, and it never stops, it never stops. Shall I say a word about the first thing you said?
Sure,
About
please.
about your production now. I don't know, but maybe that man was not doing production now, but just walking a little bit on the road in the other direction. But there are people who think that if you are doing pradakshina, then you are accumulating some power. And there is a certain way, usually the clockwise way, that you are walking around the mountain or in the temple around the Sanctum Sanctorum. And then there are people who have the idea, if they do the opposite, you can collect more power. But it's dangerous power, but it has the tendency to turn dark. So people who are doing so, they are doing so, playing with fire, because they think I may invoke more power, but it's a dark power. And so playing with dark power is not advisable, because people may think that they get then after that more control over things, over their life, but then they may also get sucked in and being controlled by that. I don't know whether this is true. I know that this idea exists, that doing the production the other way around may be more powerful than the usual way, but it's more dangerous.
Right. Thank you so much. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to say something? You're welcome to do so. Andreas is back. Yes, Andreas.
I have a question from last time, or maybe it was even one week before that. You said that when we were very young, we make certain choices that influence our personality. Would you say it's choices? It sounds like deliberate choices, and it's like, as a psychologist, I think more as a young child, you're getting like a lot of impressions, and you get formed by your circumstances, the way your parents treat you, and stuff like that. But it's not, and you come to certain unconscious conclusions through that, but it's not like a real choice that you make, like to for example, to believe that the world is bad or beneficial, or that you're good, or that you're worthy or not worthy, stuff like that. It's, I don't see it as a decision. Or did you mean something else?
Right, you're right. A lot of it will be unconscious. It doesn't matter how you are calling it. Actually, that being may unconsciously make strong choices in the but it's not a conscious choice that is thought about and deliberate and then coming to a conclusion and choose, but more as a reaction for survival, for often for dear life, the feeling that I have to be like this or I have to be like that without thinking necessarily. Those I called it choices, but those setting the direction in a certain direction that happen in early youth, in childhood, they have the tendency to be extremely powerful. They go very deep in the subconscious. You're right, it's not a conscious choice after deliberating, but somewhere in the heart, it seems for me, trotzdem, that it's a being that chooses then to do so. To put certain barriers or to put certain belief systems there that after that keep on influencing for the good or for the worse. And often for the worse, that creates a lot of trouble and handicaps after that the whole lifelong if they are not addressed and neutralized.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that, because I thought maybe there's something more that I don't see.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that as a psychologist, it's, or even for myself, it's like very difficult to see your choices or your beliefs that you make. You know, it's sometimes I get a little bit conscious of something, but like the general thing is very difficult to. Yeah, you just take it for granted. It influences you without becoming conscious. Yeah,
right. And don't worry too much about the word choice that I have used, but somehow the directions are often set very early, very strongly, and we are not bound necessarily to be victims of that for the whole lifelong. If we become more conscious, then we can become conscious. Oh, there is a tendency that pushes me always to behave in certain ways that invariably cause pain for myself and others, and I can change it.
but that seems very difficult to me. Like the
It's
relationship to other people and stuff is it's only changes slowly.
it's mainly difficult because now people have to consciously choose to change it, and people are not ready to do so, are unwilling to do so, unwilling to change because somehow there is a fear of change also, and then also unwilling to change because accepting that I have to change it is accepting that I have a responsibility in it. It's much easier to make everybody else responsible and then keep the same thing going and has a lifelong excuse for everything. But if that willingness is there, that somebody sees there are a lot of belief systems that handicap me, that keep on holding my consciousness in a little bubble and being often destructive instead of creative. And if somebody chooses to change that, then it's not more that difficult if that awareness is there, if that choice is there.
I find it very difficult to in the area of feeling worthless.
Mhm.
That's very difficult to change consciously.
It has to do with what I just said. One has then to take the responsibility to really change it and not more hang on to making everybody else responsible that I'm feeling now like this. Okay, they have contributed, but never mind. They did what they did because they were as they were. But here now, it's up to me to change that. And then when you make that decision now, and then you see the old habit creeping in, there I try to do something and immediately that feeling comes again of worthlessness. Then you can accept that feeling is there. You accept it, you, instead of unconsciously keeping it there, that it nags and nags and nags and drains your energy away, then all right, confront it and consciously say, okay, this feeling is there, then let me consciously feel like this and consciously sit there and feel worthless. But at the same time, observe what it is doing. See what it is really physically doing to your experience, how much it is cramping up the whole system, how much it is creating knots energetically, and seeing that you can start to work on it. Not like in a psychological way, immediately directly go on the problem, but deal with the manifestations of it. And then if you see what it is doing to you physically and you start to relax that. See what it is doing to you energetically and you start to relax that. After a moment, it passes. It may not be gone. It may come back again and create the same problem. But if we are not fighting with it, if we are not feeding it, but just accepting it's there, observing, and start to relax, it starts to go. At least for the moment.
It's getting better, but it's very deeply rooted. Like that, I sometimes discover, oh, I'm doing this to just prove my worth in a way. It's very difficult to just sit there and think, okay, I'm okay the way I am, and I don't need to do anything to prove it.
We don't have to try to make this kind of mental, to create this mental acrobatic and say, no, I'm fine the way I am. If there are traits of which you know they create always trouble, then you are absolutely well advised to deal with them and change them. And not to try to persuade, no, it's perfectly fine that it's there. You are, as a being, totally fine. But this is handicapping you from being your natural self. And so we can remove that. And you are right, things that are deeply rooted, they are more difficult to remove. But with patience, with perseverance, the most deep-rooted handicaps, we can learn to really go to the root of it and finally relax it in such a way that it simply is not more there.
Yeah, I can see it in myself. And in the first clinic where I worked, I had a self-acceptance group. And sometimes it was very funny how much the people insisted that they are worthless, you know?
Yes, it's amazing.
They felt very uncomfortable if you told them that they're nice or that they're okay the way they are. Sometimes I said, okay, you're worthless. And then they had to laugh, of course.
Mm.
That felt much more true to them.
Mm. Right. What I'm talking about is about people who really want to change.
Yeah.
If somebody doesn't really have that intent to change anything, then it's nearly impossible
Yeah.
to change deep-rooted belief systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very clear experience as a psychologist.
Right. If that earning is there, if that yearning, if that intent is there to really change things that create pain and suffering, then there is a possibility to work on it and get out. But if somebody doesn't want to change, you can try your psychological tricks as much as you like. They still will go round and round and somehow find ways to slip in the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. So never mind whether I called it choices, whether you call it choices or whether you call it mechanisms that have been put in place. They are there, they are powerful, but they can be changed if we are willing to do so. If we really want to be free of those handicaps. Okay, let's leave it like that. Hurry up.
There we go.
Is there anyone who want to come in? We have some more time if you want to.
Hello.
Hello, Righties. Hello, Leora.
Hello.
Not Leora. Ilona.
Ilona. Yes. Today I was talking about these worries and actions, and what just with Andreas, you have been talking about the deep-rooted from the childhood patterns of action. So if we do some action, actually it is because we want that that thing or we avoid something, right?
Yes, right.
And it is by behavioral what we learn during our life. So it comes vasanas, yes, that we unconsciously do some actions avoiding or wanting something.
Right.
And this drives our energy to do action. Otherwise, we would not move from the couch, how to say.
Right.
And other thing is that we use our mind and intellect to evaluate is it wrong action or right action, what we do and others do to us or in the world, like it's happening the war and it's bad guys or good guys. So actually it's another process going like constant evaluation. Is it okay with the social situation or it's not?
Yeah.
And what we do with this meditation, and you're suggesting to watch what we do. So it basically we can develop sense of watching unconscious, why those actions are in us raising, right? And how we probably weight them, is it they good or bad? And how to put when we is it as you just said that it's difficult to change the action because it's ingrained in neurophysiology in the brain, and actually the neurons, to train the brain and plasticity of brain is not so easy to change. But if we watch it, So probably it's easy to change our evaluation in the mind, how we perceive this problem, and maybe it's okay to be like we do something. Maybe it will slowly change, and from that probably comes this satisfaction of feeling of who am I? I mean this not that we gain something and then feel happy, but that we just are and we are happy.
Right.
So is it so basically it's about the how isn't we what we need to do actually and be persistent in the watching and not putting some labels on that, but if we watch, then it dissolves by itself.
Right.
Is it right? Right?
Because when you watch, then you see where we are creating tensions, where we are creating contradictions, which kind of actions are invariably creating pain, and to create pain is not natural. And the more you see that we are doing that, the more it will automatically start to change. Like you mentioned again that accepting in certain ways that you are the way they are, and for certain tendencies, it's also absolutely nothing wrong. That instead of thinking I should be now a super artist, but I am not a super artist, then it's much more wise to accept, okay, it's perfectly fine the way I am without being a super artist. but if I'm doing things again and again, pushed by unconscious mechanisms that create suffering, then I see, if I observe, then I see this is not natural. This I can change. I need not accept that I am like this, because it's not natural to create pain again and again, nor for oneself, nor for others. And there we can change it without standing in judgment, whether it's good or bad, simply because you see, it's not natural to create suffering, it's not natural to create pain, so I can as well stop.
But if we are living in the world and communicating with other people, so we will always feel emotions, and we always put evaluations about bad or good things, because otherwise it's just nature of our mind to work like this. So if so how we develop this watching, is it needed to put to sit in the cave? Because in your case you sit in Amma's hut and for a long time, and then you just the surroundings is less affecting when you're dealing with this and watching. But if we go around and doing things, so anyway, we are facing every day some situations, and then it's I think more difficult to develop this ability to watch, to put attention on the self.
Right. But anyhow, even if you sit in a cave, all the emotions, they will still come. And especially if you sit in a cave, like in the middle of a huge ashram, there is just a pool of emotion there all the time. And Amma was very well capable of managing, of creating all kinds of situations.
It's no escape, right?
No escape. No, the way, it's not a question of easy or difficult. Either we go about it or not. And if we go about it, then we just remind ourselves again and again, okay, I can step a step back. I can come to that point that is naturally simply observing. I don't have to become the observer. The observing is happening. So I can bring the attention back to that. And this is a process because it should be natural, but we learn to do the opposite the whole time. So it needs time to undo that what we have learned. And for that, we need to remind ourselves again and again, whether you're living in the world or in an ashram.
So basically, we develop a new vasana of putting an attention on the self and watching.
Right, until it's not more necessary to neutralize the other vasanas. Vasana is a word that is wrongly used totally as something negative. It simply means a tendency, but you
Then-
can develop a new tendency to neutralize tendencies that are creating troubles. And when it's not more necessary, then you can throw both tendencies away.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. It's also here. Often this somehow this is a subject to discussion. In the Advaita, all is as it is, you are anyhow that there is no need of any change. And of course not in the essence, but people are suffering, and suffering is not natural. Why are people suffering? Well, because of being identified not with what they are, but with that role that is being displayed on this level. And in that identification, there are tendencies that intensify that identification, that create more that sense of separation. And it's absolutely justified to learn to see them and then remove them. And for that, we can develop opposite tendencies to make it easier to become aware of those destructive tendencies that always create pain and suffering, and more that sense of being separate instead of being aware that all is connected. And for that, learning to see that, learning to have a good, honest look at ourselves and see what's going on is necessary. How we are doing it, it doesn't matter. We can use techniques, we can use this and that as a help, but somehow the essence is the same, that we become aware in what a contradictory and often destructive way the life is flowing, the life force is flowing, and then learn not to do that anymore. I'll become aware we don't have to become something special, great, out there, divine. You are naturally that. Sadhana, all the efforts are there not to create something, not to become something, but to become aware of the obstacles that we have created and taken for granted as normal, as natural, while they are not. Sadhana is a process of removing layers that disturb, that create pain, to come back home to what is already there and relax in that. And that is the job that we cannot avoid. not with any beautiful philosophy. You can say, I am already dead, but functioning totally as if you were totally separate from all existence and create pain for yourself and all the others, then simply saying that doesn't help. It's good as an inspiration to be told, essentially, you are that. You are a divine being. You need not become that. And then we don't get around having a good look and see what's going on, see where are the obstacles, see what we are really doing most of the time that keep that sense of separation alive and often makes it worse, makes it stronger, and then learn not to do so anymore. I wish you all well. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.